You've been told to stay humble, wait your turn, be grateful for what you have. But what if that advice is exactly what's keeping you small? Not because you lack ambition, but because you've been trained to silence it. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people aren't afraid of failure. They're afraid of being seen trying, afraid of admitting they want more, afraid of what will happen if they actually succeed. And if that hits something deep in you, this might be the most important video you watch this year, because greatness doesn't come wrapped in applause. It often starts in silence, confusion, and a sense that something inside you just won't settle. You see, before you rise into your greatness, you'll first have to outgrow the version of you who settled for fitting in. You'll question your choices, your relationships, even your worth. But that unease, that internal friction, it's not a flaw, it's a signal. Let's walk through the 5 signs. Not everyone will relate, but if you do, it's because deep down, you've always known. You were never meant for the ordinary. Let's uncover them one. You feel restless in places others find comfort. You're sitting in that meeting again. The coffee's lukewarm. The fluorescent lights hum. Someone's presenting numbers on a screen, but your mind is floating above the room. Everyone around you seems fine. Content even. They laugh at the manager's dry joke. They nod, take notes, check the time, sip their coffee. You do the same because you're supposed to. But underneath, your chest is tight. Your jaw clenches for no reason. You're smiling with your mouth but frowning with your soul. And there's this quiet, nagging voice that creeps in again. Is this really it? Is this the life I'm supposed to convince myself I want? You tell yourself to be grateful. This job is good. The routine is safe. The people are nice. Everything looks like it should feel good. But something in you refuses to settle. And here's what no one tells you. That feeling of restlessness you're trying to suppress with logic, it's not arrogance, it's not ingratitude. It's your vision begging for oxygen. It's the future version of you tugging at your sleeve like, hey, we weren't meant to end here. Because there are 2 kinds of comfort in this world. One that feels like home, where your soul exhales, and one that feels like a soft cage, padded, familiar, but quietly killing your spirit. Most people will stay in the cage. They'll tell you, you should be happy here. Everyone wants this kind of stability. Don't make things harder than they need to be. But you've never been everyone. And stability means nothing when your soul is suffocating. The truth? Your restlessness is sacred. It's your internal compass. The one they tried to break in school, in meetings and systems, refusing to settle for survival when you were built for impact. Restlessness is a whisper from the future, trying to wake you up. And that whisper? It's not always dramatic. Sometimes it's just a quiet discontent, a feeling that you're meant for more, not in an ego-driven way, but in a soul level, I can't unsee this kind of way. Because deep down, you know, you weren't made to live a life that just looks good on paper. You were made to feel alive, to feel challenged, to feel useful in the ways only you can be. And if this is resonating, I want you to stop right now and ask yourself, what has comfort cost me? What ideas did you abandon for the sake of routine? What dreams got filed under maybe someday? What parts of you are you keeping in storage until the timing is right? Set a timer for 15 minutes. Write it all down, honestly. And then ask yourself the real question. What might grow in its place if I made room for discomfort that leads somewhere real? Because the kind of comfort you've been sold, it's a slow erasure of your calling. And the restlessness you feel, that's not a problem to fix. It's a truth to listen to. And if this is already speaking to something deep in you, hit that subscribe button. Not for me, but for you. For the version of you that's finally starting to stir. For the future you're starting to remember. Let's go deeper. It gets even more real from here. 2. You shrink yourself to keep others comfortable. You've probably done it without even noticing. Someone compliments your work, and instead of owning it, you deflect. Oh, it was nothing. Just lucky, I guess. You have an idea in a meeting, but you hesitate second guess. What if I sound arrogant? What if they roll their eyes? You feel joy over a personal win, maybe a new opportunity, a moment of clarity, a spark of momentum, but you tuck it away because you don't want to seem too ambitious, too intense, too full of yourself. So you make yourself small, polite, manageable, and it's subtle, but it's exhausting. Like walking barefoot on eggshells, not because you don't know how to walk, but because you're terrified of what might break if you let yourself take up space. You tell yourself it's humility, that it's noble to be modest, but deep down, it's fear. Fear that if you shine too brightly, someone might turn away, someone you care about, someone you don't want to lose. But here's the unfiltered truth. If your growth threatens your relationships, the relationship was built on your smallness, not your truth. Let that sink in, because the right people, they won't be intimidated by your light. They won't shrink in its presence. They'll expand with you. You weren't made to fit in, you were made to expand. The tragedy is this. We spend so much time trying to be digestible, trying to be liked, that we forget to be real. And over time, that quiet self-betrayal adds up. You wake up one day and barely recognize your own voice. Your dreams are still there, but they're muffled, stuck behind layers of people-pleasing and polite apologies. So here's something small, but brave. Speak one truth today, without shrinking, just one. Say no without over-explaining. Share your dream without watering it down. Celebrate your win out loud without flinching. Then ask yourself this: what feels more alive, your truth or their approval? Because the moment you stop shrinking, that's the moment you start making room for the life you were actually built for. Not everyone will like it, but the ones who matter, they'll recognize you, maybe for the first time. And the next sign we're about to talk about, you might have misunderstood it your whole life. It's the one you thought meant you were failing. But what if it's actually the clearest proof that you're growing? Let's go there. 3. You've outgrown goals that used to excite you. There was a time you really wanted this. The job, the degree, the apartment, that relationship you used to daydream about. You remember the rush, the thrill of the chase, the sense of purpose, the list you made, the sacrifices you gave, the version of you who said, if I could just get here, then I'll be happy. And now, you've arrived. You have what you once prayed for. But something's missing. It doesn't light you up the way it used to. You look around and wonder quietly, why am I not more grateful? So you go through the motions. You remind yourself of how far you've come. You tell yourself not to be selfish, not to always want more. But beneath the guilt, there's an ache, a low, quiet, persistent ache, like a part of you got left behind in the race to make it. And maybe you've mistaken that ache for failure. But what if it's not? What if it's growth? Because here's the truth no one tells you. Your vision didn't die. It evolved. You didn't outgrow your ambition. You just reached the ceiling of the old one, and now your soul is hungry again. Not because you're ungrateful, but because you're still becoming. Growth feels like disloyalty to who you used to be, until you realize you're finally becoming who you truly are. And this part is messy, because it feels like you're betraying your past self, the one who worked so hard for this, the one who thought this was it. But you're not betraying them. You're honoring them by refusing to stay stuck in a version of success that no longer fits. It's like shedding skin, necessary, natural, but uncomfortable as hell. The world loves a success story, but it struggles with reinvention. Because reinvention requires you to admit, what once fulfilled me no longer does. And that's terrifying, especially when your identity, your worth, your sense of self has been wrapped around this goal for so long. So let's slow this moment down. Just breathe and ask yourself, not from a place of pressure, but of possibility. If I weren't afraid of starting over, what would I want now? Not what's logical, not what's marketable, not what would impress your LinkedIn feed or make your family proud. Just what feels real? Let that question breathe. You don't need to answer it today, but stop pretending you've made it just to avoid beginning again. Because beginnings aren't signs of failure, they're signs of aliveness. And the next sign? It might explain something you've been carrying for months, maybe even years, without knowing why. That exhaustion, that invisible weight. Let's talk about it. 4. You carry dreams that no one claps for you're building something, but no one's cheering, no confetti, no spotlight, no parade. You're grinding in the quiet hours, long after everyone else has logged off. Teaching yourself new skills from scratch, page by page, video by video. Healing wounds that never got the sympathy they deserved, the kind that no one talks about. Carrying a hope so fragile, it almost feels like a secret whispered only to yourself. Some days it feels like you're invisible, like you're shouting into an empty room, like no one understands what you're fighting for. Or worse, no one even notices. And the loneliness? It stings. It feels like you're running a marathon in the dark. No crowd, no cheers, just you, your grit, and a whisper inside you that says, this has to mean something. Here's the paradox of greatness that most people miss. We think it's supposed to feel like standing on stage, basking in applause and having everyone see the final product. But real greatness, it often begins where no one is watching. When no one's watching, you are. You are the one keeping the faith. You are the one showing up every day, even when it feels like it doesn't matter. This is the invisible work, the private victory, the foundation others don't see, but the entire building depends on. And here's a challenge for you. Each night, before you close your eyes, write one sentence that honors the part of you no one else sees. Your courage when you wanted to quit. Your discipline when motivation ran dry. Your dreams still unfolding, still messy, still not ready for the spotlight. Because your value isn't measured by claps or likes. It's measured by how deeply you believe in yourself, even when no one else does. This might challenge everything you've been told. But remember, your worth isn't in your visibility. It's in your willingness to be true, even in the dark. And here's a truth to hold on to. The world will eventually see what you've been building. But first, you have to see it yourself. And now let's bring this journey home. 5. You've tasted your potential, and now you can't forget it. Have you ever felt it? That electric surge, like the air around you thickens, and suddenly everything clicks. Time slows. Ideas flow without effort. Your heart beats in rhythm with something larger, something true. Maybe it was a moment at work when a solution came to you out of nowhere. Maybe it was in a quiet moment alone, when a vision so clear it startled you surfaced from the fog. Or maybe it was a creative burst, words, art, music, where you felt alive in a way you hadn't before. It was fleeting, ephemeral, almost like a secret whisper from your soul. And then, life pulled you back. The bills, the distractions, the voices telling you to be realistic. But that glimpse, it didn't disappear. It marked you. That moment of flow, that taste of potential, is the most dangerous kind of knowing. Because once you've touched it, once you've met that version of yourself, nothing less will ever satisfy. It's not about chasing ego or proving something to others. It's about finally meeting your true self. Once you touch your truth, the lie of smallness will always itch. And that itch, it's uncomfortable. It can make you restless, impatient, even a little lonely, because your soul remembers the vastness you've glimpsed. So here's a simple step to anchor you back when the world tries to pull you under. Think back to one moment, just one, where you felt fully alive, not productive, not validated, simply alive. Close your eyes and bring yourself there. Feel the air, hear the sounds, recall the light on your skin. Remember the way your chest opened, the way your mind was clear. That's not fantasy, that's memory, and it's real. Hold on to it like a lighthouse in the storm, because that moment is proof. Proof that the greatness inside you isn't a dream, it's your destiny. Here's what no one tells you. If you ignore these signs, your life might still look fine, but inside, you'll feel like a ghost in your own story, living someone else's version of success, asking quietly, what happened to me? But if you choose to listen, to step into the discomfort, the discipline, the self-respect, everything changes. Some people won't recognize you anymore, but that's okay. They were only ever clapping for the mask. This journey, it isn't about becoming selfish. It's about becoming whole. Daily reminder, I don't have to earn my greatness. I just have to stop apologizing for it. Tonight, ask yourself this: what part of me am I finally ready to stop betraying? If you felt seen today, good. That's not accidental. It's because something in you is ready. The next video, it goes even deeper into what happens when you stop shrinking and start choosing yourself. Subscribe if you're on this path, not just for more content, but to keep reminding yourself, you're not alone in this. Let's keep going.